Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into something pretty specific, but definitely well known if you're into vintage RC. We're talking about the Tamiya Frog, that classic buggy. And specifically, its front suspension. People call it the pogo stick front end, right? Because it's just so bouncy it can lose steering control. So our mission today is figuring out how you actually fix that.
Yeah, it's a really famous quirk of the Frog, and the root cause is, well, pretty straightforward when you look back. That original 1980s front suspension, the double wishbone setup, it used these simple internal springs, spring-loaded plungers. But critically, there was zero oil damping. None whatsoever.
It's damping at all. So the spring's just boing.
Exactly. Unchecked rebound. The front wheels literally skip and chatter over bumps. It's honestly the biggest performance issue with the whole chassis. It was just how things were before damping became standard.
Okay, so given that limitation, how did people try and sort this out? Back in the day and maybe even now?
Well, the obvious idea, swapping in modern oil shocks inside, that wasn't really feasible. The ORV chassis, the Frog's chassis, it's just incredibly tight around where those stock springs sit. No room.
Ah, okay. So internal dampers were a no-go. What then?
So that forced some real ingenuity back in the 80s. One really clever solution was from Parma, their hashtag 12605 front monoshock kit. It took out the two internal springs entirely and replaced them with this linkage system connected to one single oil shock, mounted horizontally, right inside the front bulkhead.
One shock for both wheels. Wow, that is different.
It really was a total game changer for its time. It actually gave you control over compression and rebound, which was huge. But, a single shock has its limits. It could get overwhelmed on really rough stuff, and it wasn't great for controlling body roll in corners.
And I bet finding one now is tough.
Oh, extremely. It's a super rare collector's item now, often pretty expensive if you can even find one. You did get one running for the Frog. Probably Tamiya Handtech 400 yellow oil would be a decent starting point. It's a lighter car.
Okay, so that was the Parma monoshock. Was there another approach?
There was a more, let's say, conventional route from CRP, Custom Racing Products. They offered a twin shock conversion. You needed their hashtag 9111 team front shock tower, which bolted on, and then their hashtag 1601 front shock kit, which gave you two external oil shocks.
Right, two shocks sounds more like what we expect. Better performance.
In theory, absolutely.
Yeah.
Two shocks handle bumps independently, much better for body roll, all that. But the CRP shocks had a bit of a reputation. They leaked badly.
Oh, no. So, great idea, but maybe not the best execution.
Kind of, yeah. A lot of racers apparently just ended up running them with hardly any oil or even dry, so they weren't really working as true oil dampers a lot of the time. And just like the Parma kit, finding the CRP tower and the shocks today means hunting down two separate vintage rare parts.
And if you did get them to hold oil?
You'd probably want to go light because of the leak risk. Maybe Tamiya hashtag 300 orange or even down to hashtag 200 red oil. So yeah, the vintage scene, Parma was elegant but limited. CRP was theoretically better but often leaky. Both are collector's pieces now.
Okay, that's fascinating history. But for someone today who just wants their Frog to handle well, reliably, what's the actual definitive fix?
Right. Fast forward to today. The best way, honestly the most effective and accessible, is an external dual shock conversion. You need an aftermarket front shock tower. There are great metal ones from companies like RC Channel. OZRC does aluminum ones. Plus there are loads of CNC machined or even 3D printed options out there now.
Okay, so get a good tower. Then what shocks do you put on it? Is there a go-to?
There absolutely is. The most popular and probably the best all-around choice is Tamiya's own CVA Mini Shock Unit Set 2. That's part number hashtag 50519. They're plastic, yeah, but they're reliable, they don't cost a fortune, and they make a huge difference. And their biggest advantage, they're adjustable in length, 55 millimeters, 64 millimeters, 67 millimeters, 7 millimeter. This means they fit pretty much any aftermarket tower design you might find.
That adjustability sounds key. So are there shocks you shouldn't use?
Yes, definitely. This is important. You might see the Tamiya hashtag 5408 aeration damper set. They look nice, high-end shocks. But the front ones in that set are 75 millimeters long. They will absolutely not work for this Frog conversion.
75 mil. Why is that so bad? It doesn't sound that much longer.
It's critical here. The Frog front conversion really needs shocks around the 65 to 68 millimeter mark, maybe 70 millimeter max, depending on the tower. Sticking 75 millimeter shocks on there, you'll end up with a crazy high ride height, almost no useful suspension travel left, and the suspension geometry will be completely wrong. It'll handle worse than stock, probably dangerously so. So length is absolutely crucial. Stick with the CVA minis, hashtag 5049.
Got it. CVA minis it is. And what about the oil for those? You mentioned lighter for the front earlier.
Yeah, generally for a 2WD buggy like the Frog, you run slightly lighter oil up front than in the rear. A really good starting point for those CVA minis on the front of a Frog is Tamiya #300 orange silicone oil. It's sort of medium soft. It gets rid of that horrible pogo bounce without making the steering feel numb or slow.
And if you want to fine-tune from there,
Easy enough. If the front feels a bit vague or slow to react in turns, try going lighter. Tamiya #200 red oil. If it feels too soft, like it's bottoming out easily on jumps, or maybe still feels a tiny bit bouncy, then go a step thicker. Tamiya #400 yellow oil. But #300 orange is usually the sweet spot to start.
okay, wow. So that's quite the journey. We've gone from undamped pogo sticks to specific oil viscosities for modern shocks. You've basically got the shortcut now to understanding this whole transformation.
Yeah, and it really is a transformation. That undamped front end is, without doubt, the Frog's biggest handling flaw. But it's totally fixable. Adding a good aftermarket tower and those Tamiya CVA mini shocks, the #50519 set, with the right oil like that #300 orange, it changes the car completely. It goes from being this, bouncy, sometimes frustrating classic into something much more capable, much more fun to actually drive hard.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Seeing how people tackled the same problem across decades with different tech.
It does. And it makes you wonder, what other limitations in classic designs are just waiting for a bit of modern thinking or maybe some overlooked vintage ingenuity to overcome them? What else could be transformed?
What really stands out to you after hearing all this? Maybe just how much thought and effort over so many years went into fixing that one specific bouncy problem on a classic Tamiya. Pretty cool.